Hi, my name is Jorey. I'm a trauma-informed life coach, and I'm not really exactly sure how I want to put this together, so hopefully this makes sense by the time I'm done. I had someone make a comment to me about PTSD and about being able to change your perspective, and so I wanted to touch on perspective just for a minute. Perspective is what causes most of the conflict that exists today. It's whether you're suffering from PTSD, depression, anxiety, or whether you're just a human being, it's perspective that causes most of our problems. And I say that because of this. Perspective is an emotional trait. It's not, we like to think of it as a logical trait, but it's not. It's an emotional trait, and it's controlled by our emotions. And so when we're talking about PTSD and we're talking about emotional trauma, anxiety, depression, what we're talking about is a perspective that doesn't do well for us. It does more damage to us than it does good. Now, we have that perspective and our brain is reacting the way it's reacting to protect us. But when I say protect, you've got to remember I'm talking about just safety, life and death. It doesn't care how much money you make. It doesn't care what your relationships are like. It doesn't care which job you have. It doesn't care if you're happy. What it cares about is that you are alive. And so when we talk about perspective, I'm not asking you to change facts in your life. I'm not asking you to change facts in your story. What I'm asking you to do is redefine what those facts mean to you, how you perceive those facts. And it's not a trick. It's not magic. It is literally taking a situation that has been negatively affecting you and looking at it in a new way to benefit yourself. See, the negative view and the positive view can both be true, but we focus on the negative and it leads us down a negative road. It leads us to have negative thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and actions and results. Our results become negative because our emotions and our perspectives are negative. When we choose to look at that same situation from a position of positivity and we move forward with a positive emotion, we have positive emotions, positive actions, and we get positive outcomes. And that's just the way it works. Let me give you an example. One of the first traumatic incidents I responded to as a police officer was an active shooter in a mall. Several innocent people lost their lives that day, and the shooter lost his life that day. I responded. I was one of dozens and dozens of officers who responded. Just from the dispatch messages, it appears that me and my trainer who was riding with me at the time, we were probably third and fourth police officers on scene, and a lot of people died. I had to walk over a lot of bodies, and when I used to tell people that was really hard for me, people thought that it was hard for me because I saw helpless people die, which was true, but it wasn't the shock of the people dying and the blood and whatnot. It was the fact that humanity in my eyes had died, that this 18-year-old kid could go into a public area and take those lives. And then here was the big one, and this is the admission that it took me years to make. I worked my way up to this guy. I fought my way up to this guy. I was shot at. I ran down the hall. I was going to get this guy. And as me and as a sergeant were discussing how we were going to approach this guy, some other officers had come in a different door and were able to neutralize the target. They ended up killing him. And if I'm honest, I was mad at those officers for years, because they took away, that was mine. That was my bad guy to stop. I fought my way up there. And I couldn't say that because out loud that makes me a bad person. That makes me a homicidal person. So I held that shame and that anger for a long, long time. I had the thought that I didn't get there fast enough, that too many people died because I wasn't good enough. Well, years down the road, as I'm able to change my perspective on my life, I realized that every cop wants to know that their training meant something. It was done well, and that they were trained, and that they now have the courage and the perspective and the ability to go and stop a bad guy when they need to. I was able to experience that. at that point in my life, I learned very quickly that I had what it took to go in and defend innocent people and to confront an aggressive, active shooter, a murderer. And I used that perspective to say that as soon as the police got on scene, he stopped killing. We were able to neutralize him. And so you can see that I took something that was a very hard, negative thing in my life and poisoned my relationships and my mind for a lot of years. And I'm able to turn it to a positive perspective. Now, some of the things that I believed were true and some of them weren't. But with a positive perspective, I was able to see the ones that weren't true. And I'm able to acknowledge the ones that are true, but yet they don't affect me like they once did. So that's kind of a rant. I'm sorry that was a little bit long, but I wanted to talk about perspective because it doesn't matter what you've gone through. It doesn't matter what trauma you've experienced. If you can take that and you can put that in a positive perspective light and you can act on that positive perspective, you will come out ahead. You will come out on top, and you will come out a more successful, a happier, you'll just enjoy this life way more than you are right now. So I invite you to do that, to take an incident that you have a negative feeling about and you tell yourself the positive, and you continue to tell yourself the positive until you believe it. I'm a big believer in fake it till you make it. Just keep walking, keep moving forward, and you can make it. So my name is Jorey Hersher. I'm a trauma-informed life coach. I would love to help you change your perspective and walk forward. And I'm going to get interrupted by a truck. So take care, be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.